So God rank has been in Dragon Ball Legends for quite a couple of years now. And since then, it's been the ultimate way to prove you're one of the top DBL PvP players. A lot of people struggle to get God rank, yet some players are capable of getting it season after season. Whether you're someone that's never got a God rank before, or you're someone that has got it before and you can't quite figure out how to get it again, don't worry, I got you. If you go ahead and implement the next couple of steps that I'm about to show you, you will be swiftly on your way to your next God rank. Take notes, because these are some of the things that the top PvP players are doing right now. And for the people wondering, what does this guy know? Don't worry, you're in safe hands. I have achieved God rank 13 times. So sit back, relax. Let's go get you your first God rank. Welcome back to channel 23 here, and I have got a comprehensive God rank grind video for you here. Hey, I know some of you guys are really struggling to get God rank. This is going to be everything that people are doing to go ahead and get it. I haven't really seen some of these things brought up by other YouTubers, so there is a lot of value in this video. All I ask is, if you do enjoy the video or gain any sort of value, do drop a like. It has taken me God knows how long to produce this because there's a lot of content that you need to get. Outside of that, let's get into it. So firstly, we're going to break down exactly what is required to achieve a God rank during a PvP season. To achieve God rank, you need to finish in the top 1000, and you also need to be in battle rank 70. The threshold to be in the top 1000 changes every season. There isn't a fixed number because it's going to be dependent on how many people are playing and how many people are trying to get into the top 1000. During a celebration period, there's usually more players playing, so it's going to be significantly more difficult to achieve God rank because more people are trying to squeeze into the top 1000. Let me quickly clear some of the misconceptions when it comes to pushing for God rank. Before you can actually see the God rank animation pop up on your screen once you fall into the top 1k and meet the BR70 requirement, 1 week needs to elapse in the PvP season. Legends will not officially put people in God rank until 1 week of the season has elapsed. Lastly, to achieve your God rank rewards, you need to finish the season within the top 1000. Then you can officially say, I've got a God rank. Okay, so you know exactly what's required to get God rank. Now you need to know exactly what you need so you can go ahead and compete against the top 1000 players. Firstly, you need to be mechanically adept at this game. There's a handful of inputs that you need to know really well in this game to go ahead and compete against some of the top players. Now, there are some really advanced techniques, but a lot of them aren't that necessary. I did go ahead and achieve my first 3 God ranks without knowing some of the crazy advanced techniques, but I am about to show you the basic techniques and some of the slightly more advanced techniques that you absolutely need to know so you can go ahead and compete against some of these top PvP players. So let's kick it off with something simple, the sidestep. Very easy, yet very effective. The sidestep allows you to extend your combos by drawing more cards. If your character has card draw speed, you'll be able to draw even more cards than usual. You can tell if you've got card draw speed by this specific buff icon besides your HP bar. Each one of these buff icons is equal to 1 level of card draw speed. So the more levels of card draw speed, the more cards you're drawing. To perform the sidestep, all you need to do is initiate with a strike or blast card, close the distance by swiping up on your screen, swipe left or right, and then press another strike or blast card. Be cautious when you are doing the sidestep. You cannot combo the sidestep into a close range green or alt or blue card. You can combo it from long range if you are throwing out a long range blue card, and if you got the juice like that, you can actually combo it into a rising rush. Next, we've got the charge step. Now the charge step will take some time to get used to because there is a rhythm that you need to follow, but it is super important for extending your combos. The charge step will allow you to extend your combos, but you will get way more ki than just sidestepping. Things to take note of when doing the charge step: it can only be done from a blast card into a blast card, or a blast card into a strike card, or a blast card into a blue, alt, or green. You just need to use a blast card first. To perform the charge step, make sure you're starting off from close range. Press a blast card, close the distance by swiping your screen forward. Hold your screen down for 1 second, then follow that up with another card. If you'd like to keep the charge step going, you'd want to follow that up with another blast card, and keep doing that until you run out of cards. Now, something to consider is you cannot do this from a strike card into another strike card, or a strike card into a blast card. You must go from blast card to blast card. Like I said, this is something that you will need to practice. It's a rhythm thing, so the best way to go ahead and do this is just to train against bots. Now in this game, when you do drop the combo, i.e. the combo comes to an end, the bot will vanish. So just go ahead and practice this, and if your bot vanishes, it means you're dropping the combo, so that means you are doing something wrong. Whether you're holding down the charge too long, or you're not initiating from the right distance. But go ahead, look at what you're doing, compare it to this video, and you should be able to readjust. Next, we've got the key cancel. This is a super important mechanic that you should be doing after every single blast starts. There isn't really a reason to not go ahead and do it. To perform the key cancel, you want to swipe forward on your screen right after you finish using your blast card. What this is going to do is end the animation much sooner. You're going to notice your character do a bit of a dash forward, and then from here you can go ahead and decide what the next best input would be. If you're facing quite an aggressive opponent, you might want to go for the sidestep. If you're facing an opponent that tends to sit around and wait for you, you might want to go straight for the attack. Make your decision based on the kind of playstyle your opponent has and the kind of things they've been doing earlier in the game. Next, we're going to go over how to use other characters on your bench as an additional vanish. Think of it like a double vanish. So once you vanish one of your opponent's attacks, all you're going to do is select someone on your bench and vanish immediately. Bear in mind, you need to be preemptive with this. You don't really have much time to think about it after you vanish your opponent's first attack. This mechanic is going to be useful in situations where after you vanish, your opponent goes immediately and tries to attack you. Stay tuned because I do have the counter to people that use this mechanic. Single taps. So, there isn't ever a reason to not go for a single tap. In this game, when you do multiple taps, if your opponent does vanish it, he is going to catch you because the animation takes too long to come out of it. So whenever you want to go for a tap attack, always tap the screen once. This way, if they do vanish it, you still have the opportunity to get out of their attack or immediately attack. Next, we've got the drop combo. This is a super effective way of keeping priority when you know your opponent is going to switch out and they have a special cover change. In some situations, you will not have cover null and your opponent would have caught you. But if you know your opponent is going to switch out, you can actually go ahead and drop the combo, and this is going to allow you to keep priority. To perform the drop combo, all you're going to do is either when sidestepping, sidestep and wait a little second, or when charge stepping, hold your charge for a bit longer. I strongly advise you don't just stand there, because it's going to be obvious and your opponent might be able to pick up on this and vanish. But one of the two works. Try and just extend whatever input it is, that way it's not too obvious when you're dropping the combo. Now this is high risk, high reward, so be sure that your opponent is going to switch out. Good times to consider dropping the combo is when an opponent takes a load of damage from the first attack that you do, or the unit is about to die or lose their endurance. Those are some good cues to consider dropping the combo. One more thing to consider is if your opponent has realized you're dropping the combo, they're probably just going to let you drop the combo and vanish. So be very careful. Like I said, it's high risk, high reward, but if you do pull it off correctly, you will be rewarded very greatly. Next up, we've got fake floating. Fake floating is a way of tricking your opponent into thinking you're going to make an input. It does have multiple use cases, but I like to use it to trick my opponent into thinking I'm going to use an input. Because this game is very reaction based, when your opponent sees you floating, they're going to assume you're doing something, while you know you're still in the battle stance. From here, you can make the decision to either go for an attack, or if you're in a close range situation, you can use it to vanish. And because you're fake floating, this is going to delay how long it takes for you to vanish, and your opponent will likely go for the attack, leaving you the opportunity to get out of there. Time stops. Time stops are a great way of figuring out your opponent's next move. Use them with time stopping green cards and main abilities. This is going to allow you to stop the game in the frame that it's currently in. If you see an exclamation point, you can now decide what your next move is going to be. Whether it's going to be a rush or a vanish, or if you can see them using blast cards, maybe you just charge through it with blast armor. Another great way to use time stops is to catch your opponent in a sidestep. Usually when your opponent sidesteps during a time stop, you will see them jump to the side, or there'll be an audio cue. From this audio cue, you're safe to use a card. Beware though, if you use a blast card and your opponent goes for a strike and he has blast armor, he will blast armor through it. So for most cases, go for the strike card. Next, we've got the strike cancel. To do the strike cancel, you're going to use a strike card as soon as you see your opponent use his blast card. Make sure your strike card has blast armor on it, as you can't do this with a regular strike card. Once you get to mid-range, you're actually going to sidestep and then decide what your next best play is. A lot of the time, you're just going to go for another strike card because your opponent will most likely sidestep. From there you can catch them, but if you are playing some advanced players, they do know how to counter this. In that case, you may have to delay your next strike cards or potentially vanish. You don't only have to use strike cancels to necessarily charge through your opponent's blast cards. You can also use it in situations to catch your opponent off guard. Next, we've got utilizing quick animation long range blue cards. So if you didn't know, some blue cards are long animations, some blue cards are short animations, or you can call them quick animations. When you use a quick animation blue card, if your opponent does not perfect vanish that blue card, you still have the opportunity to make another input. Whether you're going to vanish or go straight for an attack is going to be completely down to you and how your opponent has responded in other situations. For example, if your opponent is quick to attack straight after vanishing, you should probably go for the vanish. On the other hand, if your opponent tends to be quite patient and waits for you to make an input, you should probably go straight for the attack. It can be a coin toss, but it is a good way to win priority. So when it comes to long animation blue cards, if your opponent misses that blue card, he's open to be attacked, regardless if they were PV'd or not. This is also the case for long range green cards. Most long range green cards are long animations, although nowadays Legends has been switching it up. The only way to figure out if a unit has a long animation blue card or green card is to play the game. So initially I suggest just going immediately anyway. If you do land a hit, it's likely that it is a long animation blue card or green card. Next, we've got backfloating. Backfloating is an effective way of avoiding tap attacks and AoE green cards. To perform the backfloat, all you're going to do is pull back on your screen. There is an alternate animation called the backdash where you swipe backwards very fast, but be warned, it is easy to get caught in this animation because it does have a longer animation time. Backfloating is also an effective way to start the majority of your fights. Next, we've got a mechanic that I like to call the jump. This mechanic is used to counter opponents that like to do the double vanish, i.e. once they lose their vanish, they switch into another unit and sidestep. You can counter this by doing your own sidestep as soon as your opponent has lost that initial vanish. What's going to happen is they will switch into their next unit and sidestep slightly delayed after you. This is going to give you an opening and allow you to attack. Next, we've got the sidestep cancel. Now this mechanic does have very unique use cases, but in some situations it can actually prevent you from losing priority. Now there are two ways to execute this, but I usually only use one method. Now to perform this mechanic, it can only be done after someone has actually used a time stop event. If you have been caught in a late sidestep, you can actually go ahead and end the duration of that sidestep by swiping forward and then swiping to the side. Alternatively, you could actually do a quick charge and then swipe to the side. I do prefer to go for the method where you swipe forward and then swipe to the side because it's just easier to get the timing right. Because if you overcharge when you are quickly doing the charge, you will get caught. And that's about it for mechanics. Now there are some more advanced techniques. If you would like me to drop a video on those specifically, do let me know. But in terms of the general mechanics, with all of these, you are capable of getting God rank. There are some mechanics that I didn't learn until after I had pulled about 4 or 5 God ranks. So with these, you should have enough. Now you do have to go ahead and take the time to master them, but trust me, if you learn all of these well, you're good to go. Now here's a tip. This is what's going to set apart the God rank players from the average players, the diamond players, and the bronze players. It's switching up your playstyle. Like I said earlier in the video, there are only so many inputs in this game. The winner of the game, for the most part, is going to be based on who figures out their opponent first. The only way to avoid this is by switching up your playstyle. What I've noticed in the lower ranks, they do the same thing over and over again. If you're doing this, your opponent is going to figure out how to counter you, leading to him winning more priority, farming Dragon Balls faster, and overall, most likely winning the game. Great ways to switch up your playstyle is by changing your pace and your timing. So if you're someone that goes for the double vanish regularly, maybe this time just attack immediately. If you're a player that's maybe a bit aggressive, consider waiting for your opponent to sidestep. By changing these timings, it's going to throw your opponent off and it's going to give you more opportunities to win priority. Now I'm going to throw in another sleeper tip. It is quite obvious, but a lot of people don't really think about it. You need to get good at winning clashes. A lot of the time those clashes are going to bring the game down to the wire, and the person that wins the majority of them is usually going to have the upper hand. The best way to do this is just to go ahead, sorry to say it, play the game. You're going to have to play a lot of PvP, but with time your clashes should get more consistent. Next important thing is team building and equips. Now whether you like it or not, this game does have a meta, and if you go in with a garbage team, you're going to get garbage results. Now don't get it twisted, I do understand majority of players in the top 1000 are running similar variations of the same team. You do not need to have the best team in the game to get God rank, although it does help, but it's not necessary. I've had situations where I did not have any of the meta units on my team, yet I managed to get God rank. And I did this by engineering my team against the meta team. Okay, so how do you go ahead and build a good team? Firstly, you have your core. Now I do understand proud mode is a thing, but I tend to just stick to standard. It allows you to build the best teams possible in terms of damage output, because you can focus on just 3 units. So for this case, we're just going to be talking about standard. So you're going to have a core lineup. These are the 3 units that you are always going to bring into every single fight. Depending on what your lineup is composed of, this is also going to affect how your bench is built. So the team that I've got in front of you here is the team I was running for the anniversary. Now the meta has changed recently, so this team probably isn't the best team in the game, but it's a great example of how to build a team really well. So if you can see, my core lineup is Zamasu, Transforming Vegito, and Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. My bench is also composed of 2 units that are Zenkai buffing, 2 units in my core, and we also have a HP bench. 9 times out of 10, I would always go ahead and tell people to run a HP bench, because having more HP on your team is a very significant advantage to have when you're going into games. So as you can see, this team is well designed because everyone is receiving all of the buff. To check if your core lineup is receiving all the buff, you can go to details and look at the description. As you can see, Zamasu is getting his buff. He's getting the buff from Transforming Vegito. He's getting the buff from Vegeta, Super Vegito, and there are some missing. But because Zamasu is in my leader slot, he's going to get all the buffs anyway. Let's head over to a unit that is not in the leader slot. As you can see, we're hovering over Transforming Vegito. The gold buffs are buffs that are coming from Legends Limited units. Now Legends Limited units will provide an additional set of buffs, but really and truly we're here for the Z abilities, and we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's everyone on the team, because there's 6 people in the party. One of those buffs should be coming from themselves, because the unit will buff themselves. That's a great way to check if the unit you're hovering over is receiving all the buffs. You can go ahead and take a look at my last unit. You go to the Z abilities, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 then. So that means he's receiving all the buffs. Try and get more familiar with what units do in terms of buffs by going to their abilities, reading their Z abilities, and ensuring everyone in your core lineup will receive those buffs. You can also go ahead and take a look at the tags that the units are under. That way you can get a better understanding of who buffs who. Okay, so next we're going to talk about equips. Equips are also very important as they will be providing additional stats for your units. And we're not going to go too far in depth because there are a lot of equipment guides out there. If you would like one, do let me know down in the comments. But equips are super important and you want to be optimizing them based on what the unit's doing. Let's take Zamasu for example. This is a melee based unit, so he's going to be doing more melee damage. If we go to show details, he's got 310,000 strike attack and 271 blast attack. So in this case, we want to build him strike base and have him on a strike base team. The equips that I've opted for are this one, the Awaken Worship Me. As you can see, we're getting strike defense, base blast defense, and in slot 3 we're getting base strike attack 20% and 12% to strike attack when Tag Fusion Warrior is a battle member. That's himself. One thing I want you to really focus on is the difference between base strike attack and strike attack. These are two different types of buffs. Base strike attack is just going to add 20% to their base stats, while 12% to strike attack is considered raw damage. It scales higher, so you're actually doing a lot more damage. These two are different, and this is something you should look out for. When you can, do go ahead and opt for raw strike attack. This is another equip that does provide that based on the amount of strike based units on my team. Always go for raw strike attack when you can. Other stats that are quite nice to be found on equips is base health. So if there is an equip that does provide base health along with raw strike attack, then it's pretty good. Ultimate damage is another one that's pretty nice to look out for. Special move damage is also another nice one. Now bear in mind, if you are using ultimate damage, it's probably best to have a unit that does an ultimate instead of just having a time stopping main. But those are the little things you should be looking out for. Base health, raw damage, special move damage, and ultimate damage. Now, not all of your equips need to be godly. Z plus is usually enough. If I'm going to be honest, the difference between Z plus and godly is very minuscule. But if you do want your team to look aesthetic and you do want to achieve the maximum amount of stats from each equip, go ahead, max them out. And lastly, this is one that a lot of people don't really talk about, but it's really, really important. And I'm actually going to give you a little guide on how to get this just right. So your team's done, your equips are set, you've got the knowledge down. Why can't you get God rank? Well, simply, you're just not playing enough. I'm sorry to break it to you, but the guys getting God rank, especially in high volume seasons like during a celebration, they are playing the game all day. I kid you not, these guys are not touching grass. But there is a way to keep up with them. I like to call it the first out of the gate rule. Now, this rule essentially means as soon as a new season has started, you need to be the first one out the gate. Meaning, don't wait 3 or 4 or 5 days to start that season. Play today. Play as soon as you can and as much as you can. But I'm going to give you guys a little guide, and if you follow this guide, you should be able to successfully hit God rank at the end of it. So essentially, day 1, you're aiming to go up 5 battle ranks. Just 5. If you can do more, that's even better. But you're aiming to get to BR 55, assuming you started at BR 50. If you didn't, maybe you're a bit behind, you need to be BR55 by the end of that day. Day 2 comes along. Guess what? You need to go up another 5 battle ranks. At the end of this, you should be BR60. When day 3 comes along, guess what? You need another 5 battle ranks. But I promise you, it gets easier from here. After 3 days, you want to climb 1 additional battle rank. So go up 1 battle rank every day. Once you hit BR70, from here, it's all about maintaining. At this point, it should be a week into the season, and you should be in God rank, assuming you're in the top 1000. But from here, the name of the game is just maintaining. So every couple of hours, you're going to check, see where you're on the leaderboard, and try your best to stay within the 1k range. I strongly advise be anywhere between 500 to 700. If you can be higher, that's better. Things do get a little bit dicey in the 800 to 900s because everyone's just climbing and fighting to be above each other. So try and stay within that range, and every day you're going to check in every couple of hours, make sure you're still in the top 1k, and if you've got to play some games, make sure you win them, because if you lose, now you're going to have to play at least 2 or 3 to bounce back. Implement everything I've discussed in this video. Keep practicing, and I can assure you, you will definitely be able to grab your first God rank. Now, it's not going to be easy. You're probably not going to do it on your first attempt, but you're going to notice a significant improvement in your ability to play this game. If you made it to the end of the video, I do appreciate you. Once again, I do stream on Twitch. Link will be down in the description, and I'll see you in the next one.